I'm going to go ahead and just start right off the bat. The first question that came through on Facebook Live is, will this presentation deck be shared with everyone today? So if you registered for this particular session through our website, we will definitely get out all of the slide decks for everyone because we want to make sure that you put into practice some of the great nuggets that were shared today. So I'm just going to start off right off the bat with the very first question. Given an amount of information available via the internet related to budgeting and financial planning, what are the advantages of using professional financial planning services?
Great question, because sometimes people think I can't afford to get a financial planner. And I say, if this isn't something you do every day, then absolutely enlist the support of an expert. This is what they do every day. You want to find a person who works with folks, and they're not paid just based on what you're bringing in. And ask your colleagues, ask your family, your friends, those who have relationships, who do they work with? And they can give referrals. So it is important to enlist the support of an expert. They can help you get to where you want to go. And remember, you can interview them. They may not fit for you, so have conversations with a variety of folks.
I love that you said interview them, because there's a lot of individuals and you want to find someone that matches your life, the lifestyle that you want to have, but also can understand your individual circumstances. So thank you for that. We do have a question from somebody here on the audience, Miss Crystal. She said, great information. With inflation, what are some strategies we can use to make sure we don't go over our budget? You did mention some, but give us some specifics.
Ooh, with inflation, you're right. Things are costing more. So it really does get down to you've got to decide what is important. That's why we started with that. What's important to me, to you, WITY. And let's say there is something that's costing more, like eggs, and our family really likes eggs. Well, if there's a certain amount of money, we're budgeting for food, for our meals, in order to still be able to afford the thing that maybe is costing more, does that mean we maybe need to cut back on something else? And if so, have that hard conversation. It doesn't have to be hard. We can say, where can we cut back? If you like going and getting coffees every single day of the week, could we cut back there a little bit so we can still enjoy the thing that we really do want or desire that's nutritious? So you got to have the conversations, sometimes making those hard decisions. And it doesn't mean it's going to be forever, but those are things that can help us still get what we desire and need, and planning for it. That's why it's so vital to have a plan. Maybe it just takes a little longer to get that next outfit that you want, or to take the trip because it costs a bit more. So plan, strategize, have a conversation.
Awesome. Well, Deborah Berry, she just said, I just bought the book. So things that you're saying today is really helpful. Thank you, Deborah, for putting that in the Q&A. So Kalanda, with the changing of habits in spending, we have the Apple Pay, we have the Google Pay, we have Amazon prescriptions. So this next question from Kalanda, I think, is important. How do you recommend people approach the envelope method of budgeting and saving now that many places have gone cashless?
Yeah. So I tell you what, that's the case. And actually, I rarely carry cash. So I'd still use that method, but with the debit card. So get your budget. If you've allocated X amount for gas, and maybe you don't physically have an envelope that says gas, but even if you do, there's something about, the psyche that can support that. Right on there, 500. And then get your receipts. So when you're paying with your debit card, and put it in there. And there might even be some value in writing. Okay, today I spent $50 filling up. And so then subtract that. I've got $450 left for the month. And that's all the cars. So you can certainly still do it digitally or with your cards. You just have to be diligent, just as you would if there was cash. So that's a great question. And many of us don't carry cash. It can happen, and you can do it.
So those 4 boxes that you gave us at the end of your presentation, things to do, I'm going to go buy some envelopes because I can do it now with my Apple Pay. So thank you.
Absolutely.
So we still have a few more minutes. Shelly has a great question. She's in our audience as well. What are the key habits of financially successful people when it comes to saving and investing?
Mm. Those habits. I referenced it earlier. One of those is developing a mindset. I'm going to spend less than I make. And it sounds a little bit, I don't know how you might take it, but live on less than what you earn. Like that's huge. There's a book, it's been around a long time. It's called The Millionaire Next Door. And there's some habits of folks who are millionaires from years and years. I mean, it's just really interesting. They don't live where they could afford to live, not all the time. They don't drive everything that they could afford to drive. They don't put it all on their heads, everything that they make. They don't wear it all. They live on less than what they make. And if that is a discipline that myself and everybody who's here could start to develop, and we could teach our kids, like that's going to get us down the road so much farther. So consuming less than you produce, it's another way to say it. And sometimes we think I've got to be making all the money in the world. Not the case, not the case. I've worked with families who didn't make a ton between them, but they developed the discipline to be able to save and put money aside. And then others who made 10 times what one family was making, but they were highly leveraged. They spent everything on stuff, whether it was to impress people or they wanted it, whatever. And I'm not being critical, but they didn't have extra cash to be able to invest or to do any of the things they'd like to. They were tapped out in every way. So discipline of I'm not going to spend everything that I make. If you make 100,000, but you live like you make 110,000, you're going to be upside down. That's going to be tough. If you make 100,000, but you live like you make 80, you're in a great position. Best piece of advice I could share with all of us.
Disciplined. Discipline, spend less than what you earn. And then when you said stuff, oh, I think about all that stuff I have in all these rooms in my houses that I don't even go in. So you've really, again, Shelley, great question and great piece of advice. So I have Miss Shawn. She's now talking about 401ks, 20%. So does the saving 20% include 401k or a separate saving account? Great question.
So I'd like to think about it in this way. Remember the slide I had, and it had the 3 bags, pieces of luggage, that long-term savings. So your 401k, 503b, 457 plans, even 529s, education plans for kids. Those could be long-term. And so that could be looked at in that way. That's my long-term savings goal, and I'm putting money there. And for our day-to-day kinds of things, we could be thinking, I am using a savings account, some certificates, laddering or staggering those maturities. So you've got different ways to approach it. So I'm not here saying absolutely it should only be in your 401k or it should not be. Look at your whole strategy. Look at your tax bracket, your time frame, your goals, and where it might be best to allocate those dollars. So the 401k long-term savings plan could be a part of that. It could be outside of there.
So we have a few more minutes. We're going to take about 2 more questions. This one, it wasn't a topic that was really discussed, but Miss Tiffany wanted to know your thoughts on cryptocurrency.
I am a fan of being very knowledgeable about what you're investing in. So I'm not anti-crypto, but I want you to be aware. Warren Buffett says this: buy what you know about or invest in what you have an understanding about. I'm paraphrasing, I'm probably messing it up, but spend energy and time and invest in what you really understand. So educate yourself. Are you fully immersed? Do you fully understand what you're investing in? Are you totally depending upon somebody else to guide you through that? I'd say get more education if you're not really clear on it, because it's still this new asset category, relatively new. And how much of your portfolio might you be allocating to that? If it's a small portion where you're going to see some activity or you get to learn, I'm okay with that. But if you're going to put all your eggs in that basket, make sure you're fully immersed as best you can. Understand what you're investing in. Only buy what you understand.
Well, Charlotte, I mean, there's probably about 7 or 8 more questions in the Q&A, but we do need to move on to our next presenter. So we'll make sure that we get these questions answered. And if there is some time after the next 2 presenters, we'll come back to these questions. But what a wealth of knowledge that you provided for us today. So, um, guess what? We have over 300 people that are present today. That means that this is a very hot topic. And I want to turn it over to Jaletta Martin, one of the committee members, and she's going to share some great news for everybody. Take it away. Wow, Rochelle, that was just powerful. Thank you so much for sharing all of your knowledge with us today. And we just want to make sure that your credentials get there for everybody to be able to see because, you provided a wealth of knowledge. So Rochelle Henderson, she's portfolio manager with Harris County Office of County Administration. She oversees over $270 million in portfolios for transformative housing and community initiatives focused on housing stability. You can already see why we had her present today. Her experience includes over 25 years in public and private sector, including roles such as Director of Real Estate Development, Harris County Housing Authority, Director of Operations with REMAX, Project Manager, CDM of Smith Consulting Firms, and she specialized in single-family residential sales, property management on college campuses, construction of apartment communities, and senior citizens. Now, we've got to put your credentials out there too. Your education, a business administration and finance at the University of Houston, go Cougs, master in community development at Prairie View A&M University, and a graduate of the Texas Realtor Leadership and Programs. So look, I'm ready to go to this Q&A because when you put that first question out to the audience, I mean, the Q&A lit up. I saw words of confusion, stressful, family drama, family arguments, but also some individuals said, brought my family closer. It was a healthy experience due to proper planning. And that's why I believe it was important for you to be here today to help individuals jumpstart and get into that. So we're just going to start right off the bat. Of course, I'm going to go to Facebook Live first because they were hot and heavy with their questions. And the first question that we got from Facebook was, if you are listed as Ladybird on the property tax statement, does that make it easier for transfer upon the death of a property owner? And that Ladybird is kind of unique to the state of Texas, right?
That is correct. And I am a real estate expert. I always encourage families, individuals, when they have those specific questions that have legal ramifications, to reach out to a real estate attorney so that you can be sure that you are getting the accurate answer for your question, which always has nuances. So that would be how I would encourage you. That would be what I would encourage you to the steps to take today.
Thank you so much. I'm going to ask one other question about, because there's always some unique things about the state of Texas. Is the Texas Transfer Toolkit a good option? Are you familiar with the Texas Transfer Toolkit?
I am not. I'm sorry.
That's okay. We'll definitely get that information out because there are really unique things related to the state of Texas. So I'm going to go on to this next question, and it's kind of really just wanting your advice. And this is from Dantrice McNeil, who is one of the over 300 persons that are on this webinar today. She asked this question: is it better to buy a home or than to rent it out, and maybe you possibly renting a home to make profit on the home if you're renting it out? That was kind of like a, all around, but renting out something that you own, or, give me your thoughts.
So my thoughts are that you have to have a financial strategy with an end goal. Like, what is the outcome and what is your time frame? So if you have a home currently and you have the ability to rent it out, but you're not living above your means, and you're going to be able to make a profit on the property that you can rent, that might be the right option. And so I always approach it in that manner: is let's discuss what your short-term and long-term financial strategy is, and then we put the pieces in place.
That was a great response. You know, a lot of, especially when you're dealing with property and these complex issues, there really isn't one size fit all. And you really got to do your due diligence and research so that you'll know which way to chart your planning course. So thank you for that. So I have a great question for you. It's would you recommend creating an investment group to purchase, renovate, or sell properties? Could this be a route to reduce the amount of the initial investment required?
That is a great question. The answer is yes, maybe, and no. So your first question is, should I join a group? Should I get a group together? And that's a great way to allow yourself not to have the full burden, the full financial burden, and all the rest that goes along with it. But when you are entering into any type of joint venture, I always recommend that you start with your exit strategy. So if everything goes awry, everybody knows what's going to happen with all that you've invested, intellectual property, financial uh, uh, contributions. You want to start that way because if you do, then everyone can feel at ease with moving forward. You're not wondering what happens if the guy who invested the most money decides he's going to pull out, or what happens if the person who invested the least money does something to jeopardize the, financial impact of the rest of our portfolio. So I definitely say that's number one. I'd also say if you're going to do this joint venture, you need to have a contract in place. So now you're outlining what the expectations are, what the contributions are, all of those things so that it's very, very clear. You don't want to get into a situation where you're losing money, but you don't know who's responsible for how much of helping to cover that loss. Or let's say it's the total opposite. You're making a lot of money and you haven't outlined how those proceeds are going to split. So yes, I definitely think that joint ventures do have their place, but there are some legal parameters that you've got to put in place before you jump into that deep end.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Because it was a very complex question, but I like the way that you shared, especially have a contract, making sure that everybody understands their roles. I have a question from Carolyn Jones Darville. When does a trust become important in planning your estate? Great question.
It becomes important the minute that you have something to put into that trust. Bottom line, because a trust, number one, requires that you have some legal um, uh, advice and direction, instruction. And that also comes with, some financial outlay. So you don't want to just think about it and wait until, oh, everything, I'm ready. I think I want to do that. If you're thinking about it now, go ahead and do the research and find a real estate attorney and discover how much it's going to cost and put all of your ducks in a row and determine what you think you're going to put into that trust and what time frame you think you're going to put into that trust, because that then will help you to understand when you need to pull the trigger on, paying that attorney um, to get that trust documentation in order so that when you are ready for the real estate side of what is going to go in that trust, that is all in place.
Awesome. Well, we have maybe like 2 more minutes left. I want to ask this one last question because this is from Katiana Smith. She owns real estate in Louisiana prior to her marriage. What's the best way to ensure the husband receives the property? And in the event he passes before me, that my siblings and or nieces and nephews inherited the property. Are you familiar with trusts and heired property?
So I'm going to answer the question without going into the depth of the second part of the question, which is Texas state law and Louisiana real estate law are very different. And when you want to know the specific answers to those questions, your best bet is to be in contact with a Louisiana real estate attorney.
You perfect. Thank you so much for everything. We do have a lot more questions in the chat, and we'll make sure that we get those answered. But you know what? It's time to give some attention to the over 300 members that are in attendance today. So Shaletta, Martin, are you ready to kind of pose your question? And you guys get ready, because y'all were fast. Y'all were fast, and I'm ready. So go, fire away.
Okay. So the question is, name three strategies for wealth building that Ms. Henderson mentioned during her presentation?
We have one response, take action. But you said three, right?
I did.
Okay. Here it go. Crystal Davis said saving, investing, and plan.
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding. We
Ding,
got
ding, ding. You win, Crystal.
All right, Crystal Davis. Now, everybody else, she didn't put her answer in there, so go and stop. Okay, thank you. Ms. Crystal Davis, if you could do me a favor and put your email address in, we'll make sure that you get a special token from the Houston Alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta. Thank you, Joletta.
You're welcome.
We're ready for Ms. Kay to introduce the next speaker. Wow. All I'm gonna say is wow. And Shantania, let me tell you, generational wealth was such a popular topic that you got so many accolades in the Q&A. And when you said, personally for me, when you said, are we teaching our children to become consumers or owners? I literally stood up in my chair and I knew you were going to bring it. So I want to thank you. In the Q&A, Tamika was like, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. So thank you again for that. And Leslie said, wow, one generation can literally change from the next. So I'm going to get right to it, because just to make sure that we're mindful of our time, the first question that we have actually comes from Facebook, and it says, what are some recommended top wealth building gifts for children? You kind of alluded to it in the presentation, but kind of expound on some real topics for us.
Hey, listen, setting them up a custodial brokerage account, it don't get no realer than that. Because let me give you another example. I got a client, these were grandparents, all right? His kids, his one kid that they have, he kind of not on the right trajectory, right? So he wanted to make sure his grandkids was good. He has an investment account for each one of those grandkids. They were probably, I don't know, 12, 13 when we started these accounts. And both of them have since graduated from high school. And he bought them both cars from these accounts. Money that he put away, $200 a month, $200 a month, right? And listen, when he would call me, because he calls me for everything, but when he would call me and he's like, I'm ready to buy her car. What do we need to do? And, I would tell him, go look for the car, get the price, all the things. And we just transfer the money to his account. Listen, that gives me chills. Because he's setting her up. She doesn't have to go get a loan for a car. She doesn't have to create that debt. She can focus on her schooling. She don't have to go get no job so she can pay for a car note. Hey, listen, it's gifts like that.
You
I'm
said
not sure
action
what they
now.
wanted me to say, but you can go buy them shares of stock. You can buy them a share of stock.
Action now.
Get them excited about it. Listen,
I love it.
Kids love Nike, right? They love a bunch of stuff. Go buy them a share in Nike and let them track it. Every day they need to report to you what Nike sold at, what Nike closed at. What's the earnings share? They're going to start learning. They're going to get excited.
Okay, so you ready for this next one? Because I know you're going to bring this one. I'm going to kind of summarize it for you. So can you provide some strategies for building and preserving generational wealth that a family can use to help build financial knowledge? So passing down that knowledge from one generation to the next, so the kids see what the parents are doing.
Okay. having money conversations, right? And so it's so often in our communities that we don't talk about money. Kids don't know how much money mommy and daddy make. The only conversations we'd have about money was, we about to go in this store. Don't you ask for nothing because I'm not buying nothing. Don't you touch nothing, blah, blah, blah. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Maybe my mom's the only one that talked to us like that, right? But listen, those are the conversations that we had. Don't devalue sitting at the kitchen table, pulling out the budget, letting them see what the cost of stuff is, right? Okay, simple things. My youngest is 8, but I never forget, even all of them, when we go in the grocery store, they want to put the card in the thing. That's money conversations. They want to put in a PIN number. That's part of those money conversations because that's what she can do now at 8 years old. But then you graduate, right? And so, starting those conversations is critical. It's critical. And once you start those conversations, they're going to have questions. You can get, like, we don't do allowances. I know a lot of people do. But if you give them the allowances, make them accountable for it, right? Even though I didn't give them allowances, I still had jurisdiction over what they did with their money, their birthday money, and all of those. You're going to spend some, you're going to save some, and you're going to give some, period. So it's things like that.
You just keep dropping the nuggets, girlfriend. Spend some, save some, keys. I love it. I love it. Hey, okay, so here's a great question. And it's in regards to the different type of accounts that you had listed a couple of slides before, because, some of these accounts are really tax codes where the government says that you can put this amount of money aside. So in references to like, let's say the 529 plan, or maybe an UGMA, or the UMTA, I don't know how to say that initials. Are there certain limits that we can put in on a yearly basis? And if it's such a detailed answer, can you provide a resource where anybody can go to look at the limits?
Okay, great question. So UGMA and UTMA, which one you have really kind of depends on the state that you're in. There's just some age restrictions, that kind of stuff, but there's no limit to what you can put in there. You can put as much money as you want. It is not it's not like the 529 where you can definitely get some tax benefits if you use it for education, right? But at the end of the day, the growth is taxed at the kiddies account. Okay, so that's not really a big issue. I don't think so anyway. The 529 does have some monetary limits of what you can put, I think lifetime, and they change it from year to year. It's more than 100,000 for a 529 lifetime that you can put over the lifetime of the kid, right? I'm not gonna give you the exact number because I might tell you something wrong, but just go look it up what the 529 lifetime limit is. So that one does have a limit. You also have Coverdell educational accounts. This is another type of custodial brokerage, but it's specific to education, okay? You can only put $2,000 a month in that account. So you have the custodial account that's for education, but you have the one that is not. You can put whatever you want in it, okay? And then you have the 529 accounts. You do have custodial Roth accounts, okay? So like I talked about, get your kids into some type of entrepreneurship. Now they're earning income. Now they qualify for a Roth IRA. Listen, if you're a small business owner, you're an entrepreneur, I'm confused at why your kid is not making income some kind of way. They can trade papers, they can file stuff, there's a bunch they can do, and you can pay them instead of you just giving them allowance so they can go to the grocery store and spend it at Chick-fil-A. Give that money to them as they're your employee. They're working for you. Now they have earned income. Now they can have their own Roth IRA. And guess what? They have the same limits that you have. They can do up to 100% of their income or whatever the annual limit is, which I think is like $7,000 now. Listen, it's about strategy, okay? I heard somebody say that. You gotta have a strategy. You gotta have a strategy.
When I tell you this Q&A is lit up, Sylvia Fulton says, great information. I'm getting ready to gift my kids some stock. So what did you say? Take action and take action now. They are ready for that.
Tan. I know us chocolate girls don't tan, but guess what? We tanning now. Take action now.
I want to kind of go back to one of the other presenters. We had asked a question because there was a lot of great nuggets that you shared there, is how a lot of times we don't believe that we qualify for a financial advisor or a professional. to kind of guide us in all the different type of accounts that you have available, because each type of account that you mentioned, some are for short term, some are for long term, some are for medium terms. And everybody here on this call, the over 300 people, you deserve to have somebody that's an expert that can kind of tell you what's the best tax code type of account to be able to put that in. So wow, just wow. I think that you did kind of answer the question about UGMAs and 529s. So you know what? Thank you. Thank you so much for everything. We're going to definitely look at some of the additional questions that we have in here and respond back to everybody that's in attendance today. So I'm going to hand it back over to our favorite prize giver, Miss Joletta Martin, to see who's going to get some good goodies from us today.
All right, all right, all right. If you are excited about what you just heard today, I need you to drop in the Q&A box your comments and your compliments to these amazing, and amazing is not even an adequate enough word, to our amazing presenters today. They have given us so much more than I'm sure we expected. If we are not able to move forward from and take action, shame on us. And I know we will, because we are amazing women. If you stop by today, that means that you are amazing, you are interested, you are ready, and now you are empowered with knowledge. You are empowered with guidance. You have tools and resources, everything you need. So in that chat box or the Q&A box, please light it up, light it up, light it up with comments and compliments to these wonderful, wonderful speakers. We hope that you have enjoyed everything that you have seen and heard today. And we would have one final request of you before you start dropping off. If you would please take a picture of that QR code and do a survey for us. We love presenting these types of formats and programs and presentations for you, but you have to tell us what it is you need. And what you have seen today is a result of surveys that was completed last year this time. So if you want to hear more and more and more from the Financial Empowerment Committee of the Houston Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, complete that survey for us. If there is nothing else this afternoon, again, we thank you for joining us, and we look forward to hearing the wonderful stories of how you have created generational wealth for your families. Thank you again to our presenters, and have a beautiful day, everyone.